front of it wants to be associated with the term prostitute. What parent ever wants to hear that term associated to their child? The term prostitution implies consent. Human trafficking is not consensual, and the victims don't sign up for this. I've been asked countless times over the years by colleagues and friends in the media, but what are these girls' backgrounds like? As if that makes a difference. As if someone from a marginalized background or an impulsive teenager who lies to her parents and decides to go with a new friend to a party deserves what she got. When scrambling in fear to find a missing youth one night, an officer close to retirement asked me, "Why do you even bother?" I said to him, "What if it was your daughter?" His response, "It would never be my daughter." You see, it's easy to blame the victim or her family because it makes it less scary. It allows people to stay in their comfort zone and avoid the reality that it could happen to them. I get that. What I don't get is why, when it comes to human trafficking and sex abuse, we keep blaming the victims. My point is to challenge all of you to consider your past historical attitudes of what human trafficking looks like in your neighborhood. If you've never considered the impact on historical attitudes and the impact in society can have a change, consider drunk driving. Mm-hmm. For those of you older than me in the room, and there's not many, Ken. You may remember a time when it was acceptable to drink and drive. Yeah. Yet as long as I can remember, people have been told, don't drink and drive. Mm. Despite the message, I can remember as a kid, people leaving house parties drunk. Mm. I can remember people boating drunk. I can remember as a teenager and a young adult, people bragging about getting home tanked. The message was out there, but society hadn't accepted the new norm. It's taken a long time for the message to hit home. A lot of people have been victims of drunk driving. A lot of families have been shattered, torn apart, struggling to survive in the aftermath of a new parent. In the last 20 years, I think society's attitude has changed. It's no longer acceptable to drive drunk. People still do, but it's not acceptable, and it's no longer cool. What strikes a chord with me, though, is we never said to drivers, when you drive home tonight, make sure you keep your eyes out and swerve for those drunk drivers. Be careful on the roads, you might come across an impaired driver. The interesting thing about drunk drivers is the message was always directed at the perpetrator. Don't drink and drive. What the Ottawa police and those working with victims have understood for a long time is that it's no longer acceptable to lay blame on the victim or the victim's family. Human trafficking shatters and rips apart entire families no different than drunk driving does. Human trafficking doesn't just affect the victim. Parents blame themselves for not being able to protect their kids. Brothers and sisters, cousins and friends feel the shame of those judgmental tones when words like prostitute are thrown around. As if somehow this implies they consented or did something wrong. It's time for neighbors and friends, teachers and work colleagues to understand that a victim doesn't have to bear the shame for someone else's behavior.